Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing a Code Talker deck profile. So I'm really excited for you guys because this deck is an awesome deck that can actually link your opponent, and we just got an amazing new boss monster, Code Talker Heat Soul, which is just an amazing card. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell there so you can come part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon down in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like in your name description every single video, getting a signed card sent in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your patron, along with test stands. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Microcoder. This card is an absolutely insane card for the deck because it has the ability if a Cyverse monster you control would be used as a link material for a Code Talker monster, then this card in your hand can also be used as a material. And if this card is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard as a material for the link summon of a Code Talker monster, you can either add a Signet spell or trap from your deck to your hand, or if this card is on the field and was used as a link material, you can add a level 4 Cyverse monster from your deck instead. But you're always going to use this card in your hand as a material so we can get that Signet spell or trap because we have a bunch of really powerful ones. We then play 3 copies of Nightmare Corruptor Ibli. This card is a great 3-up for the deck that can actually lock your opponent out of their extra deck because it has the ability that when this card is normal summon, you can target a link monster in your graveyard and special summon it to your field so it points to this card. But change its attack to 0. Also negate its effects, and you can't special summon monsters except link monsters, which is an extremely important effect. And if this card in its owner's control is sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon this card to your opponent's field in defense position, which is an extremely awesome effect because basically if we U-link the opponent where there's no more extra monster zones, we can special summon this card to our opponent's field if we use it as a material, and then it makes it so they can only link summon, but since they don't have a monster or they don't have a zone to summon to, they can't summon any monsters, which is absolutely crazy. We then play 3 copies of Lady Debug. Lady Debug is a really good card because it has the ability, if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a level 3 or lower Cyverse monster from your deck to your hand, which is a really good effect. We then play 3 copies of Cyverse Gadget. This card is really neat because it has the ability that when it's normal summon, you can target a level 2 or lower monster in the graveyard and special summon in defense position, but its effects are negated. And if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you get to special summon out a gadget token to your side of the field, which is a really awesome effect to be able to use for link summoning. We then play a single copy of Backup Secretary. If you control a Cyverse monster, you can just special summon this card from your hand, making it a really good extender. We then play a single copy of Proxy Horse. Proxy Horse is a really neat card for the deck because it has the ability, if this card you control would be used as a link material for a Cyverse monster, then you can use a Cyverse monster in your hand as a material as well. And then during your end phase, you can manage this card from your graveyard and then target 2 Cyverse monsters or 2 link monsters in your graveyard, including a Cyverse link monster, and return them to the extra deck, which is really good to be able to recycle your link monsters to use over and over again. We then play a single copy of Formud Skipper. Formud Skipper is really good because it has the ability that if it's used as a link material, then you can add from your deck to your hand a level 5 or higher Cyverse monster, which is a really good effect to be able to add Parallel Izzy from the deck to the hand, or any of our level 5 or higher monsters. We then play 2 copies of Code Generator. Code Generator has the same effect as Microcoder, that if a Cyverse monster you control would be used as a link material for a Code Talker monster, then this card in your hand can also be used as a material. And if this card is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard as a material for the link summon of a Code Talker monster, you can send a Cyverse monster with 1200 or less attack from your deck to the graveyard. Or if this card in the field is used as a material, you can add that target to your hand instead. But the card that you're always going to be sending off this card's effect is going to be your copy of Dotscaper. Dotscaper is a really good card to send to the graveyard off of Code Generator because it has the ability, if it's sent to the graveyard, then you can special summon this card. And if this card is banished, you can also special summon this card, but you can only use each effect of this card once per turn, and you can only use each effect once per duel, which is really, really awesome that you can basically just get a free special summon off of link summoning using this card. We then play a single copy of Code Exporter. Code Exporter is a really neat card because if a Cyverse monster you control would be used as a link material for a Code Talker monster, then this card in your hand can also be used as a material. And if this card is sent from your hand or field to the graveyard as a material for the link summon of a Code Talker monster, then you can target a level 4 lower Cyverse monster in your graveyard and add it to your hand. Or if this card was used on the field as a material, you can special summon that monster instead, but negate its effects. You're never really going to use this card on the field because it is a level 5, so you're always going to get that first effect when you use this card in the hand. We then play 2 copies of Parallel Izzy. Parallel Izzy is a really good card for the deck because it has the ability, if you link summon, you can special summon this card to your side of the field as a level 4 monster with 1,000 attack points and 1,000 defense points, and then special summon out another copy of Parallel Izzy from your deck, which is a really awesome effect because they both become level 4 and 1,000 attack and 1,000 defense, so we can keep link climbing using these cards. We then play a single copy of Math Mech Edition. Math Mech Edition is a good one-of in the deck because it has the ability to target a face-up monster on the field, and you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except Cyverse monsters, but also you special summon this card from your hand, but it can't attack this turn, and if you do, the targeted monster gains 1,000 attack points, which is really good to use this card as an extender and to boost up your monster's attack points so you can go in for an OTK. And then play a single copy of Degrade Buster. This card is really good in the deck because it's basically like a Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning for Cyverse monsters because it has the ability it cannot be normal summoned or set. It must first be special summoned from your hand by banishing 2 Cyverse monsters from your graveyard. And you can target a monster your opponent controls with higher attack than this card and then quick effect banish it until the end phase, which is really good to be able to go in for an OTK. We then play for the last Cyverse monster, we're playing a single copy of Code Radiator. This card is a really good card as a one-of in the deck that if a Cyverse monster you control would be used as a link material for a Code Talker monster, this card in your hand can also be used as a material, just like your copies of Code Exporter, Code Generator, and Microcoder, which is really, really good. And if this card is sent from the hand or the field to the graveyard as a material for the link summon of a Code Talker monster, you can target one face-up monster your opponent controls and change its attack to 0, also negate its effect, and if this card on the field was used as a material, you can target 2 monsters instead, which is an insane effect that basically you can just go in for an OTK once you drop them down to 0. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the hand traps. So for the hand traps, we're going to be playing 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom is really good in the deck because it basically stops the opponent from touching the deck, so we can just go in for all sorts of insane plays. We then play 2 copies of Effect Veiler. Effect Veiler is really good in the deck because it negates an opponent's monster's effect that's on the field during their main phase, which is a really good effect to be able to slow down the opponent so we can go in for game. Another card that I did consider putting in instead of the copies of Effect Veiler were copies of Ghost Bell, but Ghost Bell is a level 3 where Effect Veiler is a level 1, so I can use cards like Cyverse Gadget to be able to special summon back the copy of the Effect Veiler, which is a really good effect. So that's it for the hand traps, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to be playing a single copy of a Monster Reborn, so we can bring back all sorts of cards from the graveyard so we can continue link summoning. 1 copy of Change of Heart. Change of Heart is a really good card because it lets us target a monster opponent controls and change control of it to us, which is really, really good to be able to use that monster as a link material. We play a single copy of Called by the Grave. Called by the Grave is really good in the deck because it stops the opponent from hand trapping us. 1 copy of Salaman Great Sanctuary. This card is really good to search off your copy of Balinks, which is just a really awesome card. 3 copies of Synapse Mining. Synapse Mining is really good because this card searches any Cyverse monsters level 4 or lower from the deck. By just sending 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, you get that really insane effect. We then play 3 copies of Cynet Codex. Cynet Codex is a really awesome card and what the entire deck is focused around. And this card has the effect that if a Code Talker monster is special summoned from the extra deck to your field except during the damage step, you can target one of those monsters and add 1 Cyverse monster with the same attribute from your deck to your hand. Also, you can't special summon monsters from the extra deck for the rest of the turn except for Cyverse monsters, even if this card leaves the field. And you cannot add another monster with the same attribute from your deck to your hand by the effect of this card this turn, and you can only activate the effect of Cynet Codex once per chain. This card is absolutely insane because this card can give you up to 6 searches in a single turn just by link climbing, which is really, really cool, and going into your boss monsters. So that's it for the spells, guys. let's get into the traps. By the way, this is the card that you're going to be searching off your microcoder all the time. So let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Psynet Conflict. Psynet Conflict is the basically Infernity barrier of this deck that has the ability that when a spell trap or monster effect is activated, while you control a Code Talker monster, negate the activation, and if you do, banish that card. And if you do that, your opponent cannot activate cards or effects of the card with the same original name as that card that was banished until the end of the next turn, which is an insanely powerful effect for this card to have. It basically just turns off that card for pretty much the rest of that turn and the next turn as well, which is really cool. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to be playing a single copy of Decode Talker Heat Soul. This card is a really good card in the deck because it has the ability it gains 500 attack for each monster it points to. In quick effects, you can pay 1,000 life points and then draw a card, and then if your life points are 2,000 or less, then you can apply this effect that you banish this card from the field, and if you do, special summon 1 level 3 or lower Cyverse monster from your extra deck except another copy of this card, and you can only use this effect of Decode Talker Heat Soul once per turn. This card is a really good card for the deck. Getting that draw is just absolutely insane, and this card can get absolutely massive in the deck. We then play a single copy of Access Code Talker. Access Code Talker is a really good card in this deck that can get us multiple pops on the field, and is overall just a fantastic card, especially with the amount of different attributes that we're going to go into. We then play a single copy of Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax. Mekk-Knight Crusadia Avermax is a really good card that's super easy to summon in the deck, and just is a really cool card that basically has the ability that when this card is link summoned, or while this link summon card is on the field, your opponent cannot target this card with card effects. Also, their monsters cannot target monsters for attacks except this one. And then once per battle, during damage calculation, if this card battles a special summoned monster, quick effect, you can make this card gain attack equal to that opponent's monster's attack during the damage step only. And if this link summon card you control is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you get to shuffle a card from your opponent's field into the deck, which is an insanely powerful effect. Basically, if they get rid of this card, they're also going to lose the card that got rid of this card, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of Transcode Talker. Transcode Talker is really good because it has the ability that while this card is co-linked, and the co-linked monsters gain 500 attack points. Also, your opponent cannot target any of them with card effects, and you can target 1 link 3 or lower Cyverse link monster in your graveyard except another copy of this card, and special summon it to a zone this card points to, which helps us link climb in the deck. Play a single copy of our Code Talker monster. This card is really good. The Water Code Talker monster is okay. You're basically just using this card for your copies of your Psynet Codex, but this card is a card that I actually considered cutting from the deck, but I ended up just keeping it for its arrows. We then play a single copy of Xcode Talker. Xcode Talker is really good because it can lock down zones. This card is a really good card as well to be able to use for the arrows to point over, so you can start going in for that extra link. We then play a single copy of Trigate Wizard because it's super easy to get all 3 effects of this card because it has the ability that depending on the amount of cards it is co-linked with, it depends on the effects that it gets. That if a monster co-linked to this card battles your opponent's monster, any battle damage it inflicts to your opponent is doubled, or if it has 2, once per turn you can target a card on the field and banish it, but if it has 3, you can once per turn, when a card effect is activated, quick effect, negate the activation of you banish that card, which is a really awesome effect. We then play a single copy of Splash Mage. Splash Mage is a card that I actually consider playing as a 2 of in this deck because it has the ability to target a Cyverse monster in the graveyard and special summon a defense position, but negate its effects. Also, you can't special monsters for the rest of the turn except Cyverse monsters, which is again not the big of a deal because that's pretty much all we're summoning. 1 copy of Code Talker. Code Talker is a really good starter for the deck, so we play this card as a 1-of. 1 copy of Code Talker Inverted because this card is a really good card for the deck that if it's link summon, then you can special summon a Cyverse monster in your hand to a zone this card points to, which helps you extend your plays. 1 copy of Talkback Lancer. Talkback Lancer is a good card, but it does take a level 2 or lower Cyverse monster to summon this card, but it helps you go into your extra link because it only points down. We then play 2 copies of Salamangreat Balinx. This card is really good in the deck because it searches our Salamangreat Sanctuary, which is a really good card to play in this build, but it has the ability, if this card is link summoned, you can add a copy of Salamangreat Sanctuary from your deck to your hand, and if a Salamangreat cards you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can manage this card from your graveyard instead, which is a pretty good effect because when you use your copy of Sanctuary, you can use this card as a material for itself to go ahead and you be able to protect your cards with this card's graveyard effect. We then play a single copy of Link Devotee and a single copy of Link Disciple, which are really good cards to combo off in this particular build. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy it. It's a really fun deck to be able to play with. If you guys have never played with Code Talker, it's a really, really awesome deck. You link your opponent. It can summon out cards like Avermax, Trigate Wizard, all sorts of really amazing things. And it's just a really awesome Link Climb deck. I really, really like playing with this one. So anyways, guys, this is DarkArmedDuelist. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.